Good afternoon, everyone. It is your host, T. Murg, host of the Murg Mayhem podcast show, whatever you want to call it. I hope y'all had a good weekend. Lots of stuff happened in the sports world over Saturday and Sunday, and I cannot wait to get ready and dive into it. Um, and let's just go. Let's do it. Okay, so first thing on the agenda today is soccer or football. Um, Mbappe came out and said that after, or his agent, his whole team, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call it, said that after this deal that he's in currently, he will go to Real Madrid, and Real Madrid is the team in the La Liga league, and they are currently ranked number one. They are ranked number one. Barcelona is in the top three as well. And Neymar is considered one of the best, if not the best player in the world. As of now, they call it matches played, similar to games. In La Liga, in the league he is currently in, or League One, he has 20 goals and 4 assists, and then in the Champions League he has 3 goals. So in total, in 20, because he's played 6 in Champions League and 19 in League One. That's 27 matches, and 23 goals. Now, Messi is considered to be the GOAT. Ronaldo is close second. But if you were just going based off of age, and he's 25 now, at age 25, Messi had 69 goals in 62 appearances. I'm assuming that's matches. And Ronaldo had 53 goals in 64 appearances. So at start, he's about, I wouldn't say a quarter, but he's still got lots of ground to cover if he was trying to catch up to Messi, even though Messi is otherworldly. But as of now, he's got 23 goals in under 30 matches played. But that is the only soccer news I have, because I'm not really a soccer expert. I'm trying to get into it and get into the accolades, the rules, all that. So you might see more soccer soon. I'm not prepared, so I'm not going to give you guys any information that is either dumb, not right, or not factual. So that is that. So we're going to be moving into the world of baseball. Baseball today, as of February 5th, there's still a lot of free agents out there in the MLB. And what's crazy is that spring training is right around the corner. Spring training, as far as position players, they report to the team February 18th. And for free agency, I think it ends on that same day as well. As far as pitchers and catchers, they report. I think they report a few days early. They go, I believe, February 8th or 13th. But that's still 3 to 8 days away if they do go on the 8th and if they do go on the 13th. So, where am I going with this? Where I'm going with this is that there's not a whole lot of time for these teams to make these deals with these players, right? So, how many players are out there, and what players are absolutely essential for some teams to get? So if we just go to the screen here. So these are the top free agents right now. Cody Bellinger. There's a lot of names here, so I'm not going to go over all of them, but there's more. I'm telling you, I had pages and pages of free agents that are in the MLB that should be signed by people, but these are the essential free agents. I think these players should get contracts for and with teams. So Cody Bellinger is the number one. He had a bounce back year after in LA. He was ever since the 2020 World Series after that shoulder injury. I don't think he was healthy these past few years, and then this year he was fully healthy, and he wasn't 2019 Cody Bellinger, but this was a good pace back to his MVP year. JD Martinez, another Dodger, he came back. He signed a 1 year with LA last season due to Boston not being able to pay him and Boston being able to do their rebuild. So he took a 1 year, $10-15 million deal with the Dodgers, and he had, other than his average being a little bit down from his Boston years, he still performed like old JD Martinez. He was second in the Dodgers organization in homers and RBIs this year, just behind Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman as far as RBIs go. Jorge Soler, another one. Jorge Soler, what are you getting with him? Power bat. Isn't the best defensive outfielder, but this is what you're going to get from him. He is susceptible to Ks, but that's what the MLB is now, is how many homers can you hit and how many RBIs can you drive in. Tim Anderson. Thoughts on Tim Anderson. So last year was one of the worst years of his career, if not the worst of his career. I don't know. I have no idea what was going on with him at all, personally, but I do know that he did get knocked out by Jose Ramirez last year in Cleveland, which you don't see baseball fights anymore very often. But he, let's just say he got his shit rocked. But typically he's a 300 hitter. Basically, he gets more hits. It's about 150 to 200 hits. I just think he, like James Harden, either just didn't care or didn't want to force his way out without forcing his way out. If you know what I'm saying, if you know what I'm trying to say. But yeah, he's a free agent. I would sign him. He's one of the best shortstops in the league when healthy and when he's performing well. Not the new Jackie Robinson by any means. Jackie Robinson will always be Jackie Robinson. There's only one of one. But, if he wants to call himself that, he can call himself that. Adam Duvall, Whit Merrifield. Whit Merrifield did not hit 1,449 hits. That is my bad. That is a typo. He had 149 hits last year. I think one of my keys got stuck, but he had 149 hits last year. These two guys, as well as as well as Kike Hernandez, these three guys can play just about every position on the field. Adam Duvall can play all the outfield positions and first base. Whit Merrifield can play second in the outfield positions. Kike Hernandez can play all the infield. He could probably play first, but he's a middle infielder, second and short, and all the outfield positions as well. Kike Hernandez, this was his season, but when he got traded, he started with the Boston Red Sox, traded to the Dodgers, back to where he started, and then he ended up getting around above league average OPS with the Dodgers when he was playing for them. So Those three, Adam Duvall and Jorge Soler, were also on the 2019 Braves World Series team. So they have postseason experience. So if I was the MLB team, I would sign them just because if you are a contender, you need power bats and you just need uh, postseason players that have experience and also are clutch. CJ Crone is one guy that I put in here as a essential free agent because last year he was dealing with injuries, and the year prior to last year, he was an all-star, played in Colorado, which is basically a nuke fest for home runs. It's above sea level, so that means that every time it's in the air, it's going to carry. And a lot of people are like, well, if you play in Coors Field, you're not going to be better in every other park. That's fair, but he still maintained consistency with hitting the ball in the air and hitting home runs and driving people in as far as RBIs. But in this small sample size in 71 games, he had 64 hits, 37 RBIs, and I think 12 home runs or so. So small sample size, but he's a power bat that should be desired. And then Blake Snell down are either starting pitchers or relievers. Blake Snell, Cy Young Award winner last year. He's the only pitcher to win it in American League and National League, which is very impressive. He is a free agent. Obviously, everyone should be on his radar, but we still have some time. Like I said earlier, spring training doesn't start until mid-February. So, but if you're a postseason contender, he should be on your list. Went to the World Series in 2020. Unfortunately, lost to Clayton Kershaw and his Dodgers. But yes, he did go to the World Series and unfortunately lost. Clayton Kershaw, I think he's going back with the Dodgers personally because that's where he's been his whole career. I just can't see him in another uniform other than Dodger blue. Ever since he has lost his velocity, he's maintained the same numbers. Dodgers are the best team in the NL West, even though they got outplayed by the Diamondbacks last year, which no one thought the Diamondbacks were going to go to the World Series. But congratulations to the Diamondbacks for going there last year. But Clayton Kershaw is on the best team in the NL West, in my opinion. Jordan Montgomery, another free agent. He was with the Cardinals last year, got traded to the Rangers, and then he helped lead them to the World Series victory. The record, you see 10-11. He was with St. Louis, so part of that is, with the Jacob deGrom treatment years ago, where if your team isn't scoring runs, then, how are you supposed to pitch and win games if you're losing 1 or 2 to 3-0, very close games. So that's why the record looks a little bad, but World Series champion, postseason experience with the Yankees, and the Cardinals last year, unfortunately the year prior, unfortunately losing to Philly when they went to the World Series, and he obviously won the World Series this year with the Rangers. So he should be a target for people to sign as well. Michael Lorenzen, he started off with Detroit, got traded to Philly last year, and ERA, yeah, it's a little high, but at the same time, he's the type of pitcher that can start and go in the bullpen. So in Detroit, they didn't know how to use him, for him to go to the bullpen, whether to go for the starting rotation. But in the first half of the season, he made the All-Star team, well-deserved. And when he got traded to Philly, he ended up getting a no-hitter. So record 9-9. He did get a few saves last year in the bullpen, but I think after this year when he was with the Angels in 2023, or, excuse me, 2022. It was a bounce back year for him, which I am happy that he was able to find what worked with him in Detroit and get him to where he is today. Um, Very valuable. Could go, like I said earlier, both sides, go in the bullpen and go be a starter. So, um, and fun fact, he used to be a two-way player. When he was in Cincinnati, he was an outfielder and reliever. Um, but he's now able to get a potential big deal with him being a starting pitcher. In my opinion, I hope he is a starter. Brandon Woodruff, his former teammate Corbin Burns, late in episode 1 that I talked about, got traded to Baltimore. Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns in Milwaukee were the 1-2 punch. You couldn't tell if one was the ace, if one and the other one wasn't. They were a powerful 1-2 combo. He pitched 11 games last year due to injuries, and I'm actually shocked that they let him go. He was the longest tenure Brewer in the organization last year, and I don't know what else to say. I don't know what Milwaukee's doing. Rowdy Tellez just left in free agency earlier this year, and I don't know if they're trying to rebuild, what they're trying to do, but your best guy now as far as a starter is Freddie Peralta. Is a solid starter, but he's no Brandon Woodruff, Corbin Burns of that caliber pitcher. But stats, 2.28 ERA, 74 Ks and a 5-1 record. Small sample size, but dominant, if I say so myself. The two relievers here, I can say relievers because that's where they were. That's who they're classified as. Liam Hendriks came back from cancer, so he didn't pitch too many games. So that I think they were trying to be careful with him. But in 5 games, 5.40 ERA, 3 Ks and a save. So the ERA, not really concerned about. Liam Hendriks has been one of the best, if not the best, closer in the American League. I know last year you can say it was either Emmanuel Clase, or Felix Bautista before him getting injured with a UCL injury. But Liam Hendriks, one of the best closers in the game, shutdown guy and an energy guy. There was one time in the All-Star game where he didn't know his mic was working, and so he was cussing on national television. But at the same time, we need that as fans of the MLB. We need to have more stuff like that. Obviously, no cursing, but more stuff that can help the fans engage into the game of baseball and help market it. The other reliever on this list is Jacob Junis. He pitched for the Giants last year. He is similar to Lorenzen, but Lorenzen pitched more in both. Junis only had 4 starts last year as a starter. 40 games, mostly was a reliever, middle relief type of guy. 3.87 ERA, 96 Ks, 4-3 record. Solid. I put him in here because as far as relievers, he had the better stats and track record, I would say. I know I left off Yonny Chirinos. He pitched for Toronto last year and Houston. They traded him over. He was kind of an honorable mention to me, so I left him off this list. But Yonny Chirinos, flamethrower. I want to see where he goes because basically if you throw 95 to 100 miles an hour, everyone's going to want to look at you. Everyone's going to want to sign you. So, hopefully he gets signed. And the last pitcher on my list is Mike Clevenger. like Tim Anderson, they both play for those Chicago White Sox. So it's, as of now, I mean, it's a joke franchise. I mean, they tried to bring Tony La Russa in there. It didn't work out. Yermin Mercedes was on the team last year, and they just, Yermin Mercedes was a catcher slash DH who tore it up, and since he's full of energy. Tony La Russa didn't like that, and then they sent him back down to AAA, tried to bring him back up later in the season, and then it just did not go well at all. And now he's not even in MLB anymore. So I feel like Chicago White Sox are turned into a laughingstock because for the past several years when Abreu was there, I can't remember the other starting pitcher that was on the team. Chris Sale, they had good teams, and then they just failed to get further into the playoffs. Because either they faced Houston Astros when they were the number one seed, or they lost themselves games. They just beat themselves up and ended up losing the games. But Clevenger was also on the 2015-2016 Cleveland Indians, now Cleveland Guardians team. And then ever since then with Cleveland and Padres, he's been pretty solid. 500 record, 110 Ks, nasty stuff. Herky-jerky delivery, but it works for him. He's one of the he's a solid starting pitcher in this league. So that is all for free agents. Now, 2 signings happened over the weekend, if not earlier prior to last week. Carlos Santana signed to the Minnesota Twins for a year. What do I make of it? I don't really make of anything, to be honest. Twins, they traded away Jorge Polanco to Seattle. I don't agree with the trade because now that you lost a switch hitter, righty killer, you're bringing in Santana, but Santana's 38, so switch hitter with switch hitter, I guess, is the only positives. Other than that, they're still AL Central. I feel like now Cleveland got better in a way. Royce Lewis with the Twins is still there, but that's one of the only future pieces down the line that they have. So other than that, Carlos Carrasco is now signing back to Cleveland. Me personally, I think he's going to retire after this year. He wanted to go back to the team that in his prime he was pretty solid. And then when he got cancer and came back that same year was pretty heroic. It was pretty inspirational and emotional. But he's gonna go down as one of the best pros in the league. What I mean by pro is he stayed in the league for a long time. Everyone thought that he had some value, and obviously he's not like a DeGrom or somebody like that by any means, but he was able to stay in the league for a long time. So definition, good pro. That's all the MLB news I had. Over the weekend and last Thursday, lots of stuff happened in the NBA. First on the NBA news list, Bradley Beal and Damian Lillard went back to their home teams, or when I say home teams, went back to the first teams that drafted them. Damian Lillard and the Bucks went to Portland, and Damian Lillard didn't shoot well by any means. He didn't shoot the best, but he ended up scoring 25, got 7 assists, 6 rebounds. They ended up losing by 3. Doc Rivers still has to learn how to coach with these guys. I think this is either his fifth to seventh game with them, so they're still figuring it out. But unfortunately, they lost. Portland was able to take the W over Dame in his reunion with Portland. One thing I will say about Damian Lillard, this was the perfect time for him to leave the franchise. I know that they did everything they could, but in a small market team like Portland, there's only so much that they can do for him. But standing ovation that he got, well deserved. I mean, he's had plenty of moments with Portland. There will be a little clip up here, but I mean, with the playoff experience that he had, the buzzer beaters, the clutch moments for Portland, and the community aspect of Damian Lillard in Portland. He's the best trailblazer to have ever put on that uniform. He is, when he goes in the Hall of Fame, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer, regardless if he wins any rings or any MVPs. This guy is averaging for his career 25 points, 4 rebounds, about 7 assists, and he's a top 75 player all time in the NBA in NBA history. So, I can say that confidently. He is one of the best point guards to have ever played this game. But the other person who went back to their first team, Bradley Beal, he got traded to the Phoenix Suns over the offseason this summer. Even though they are the Washington Wizards, so they're one of the worst teams in the NBA. So like the Phoenix Suns were born to beat them into the ground, but he did end up putting on a show for his for the fans. He ended up scoring 43 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists in the win. I mean, there's not really much I can say there. Bradley Beal and John Wall at the time were the best in Washington had to offer, including the Redskins or whatever they're called now, Commanders football team. Who gives a shit? But now Washington football team, or whatever the fuck they're called, are going in an upward direction with Sam Howell. So I'm excited for them going into the offseason to get him into his second year out of his rookie year, which was a success in my opinion. But yeah, Bradley Beal put on a show in Washington. So I'm glad that the big three in Phoenix are actually playing together, because since Denver is the best team in the NBA right now, in my opinion, in the Western Conference, I still think Denver is the best team in the NBA, even if Celtics have the best record. But other than the only teams that can take down, or I believe that have a shot of taking down Denver, are I'm blanking, sorry, are the Phoenix Suns, obviously, because Denver doesn't have enough guys to guard all three of them. KCP, Aaron Gordon, they'll have to choose who to guard most of the time. I'm assuming if Phoenix plays Denver, Gordon will guard KD, and KCP will guard Devin Booker to make Bradley Beal score against him. But at the same time, Phoenix has 0 size against Jokic, so they'll have to get that taken care of before the trade deadline. So, but yeah, Phoenix, the Clippers, if they get some size, and Minnesota. Minnesota has at least Karl-Anthony Towns, Naz Reid, and Rudy Gobert to throw at the Joker. Plus, Anthony Edwards is a beast in his own right. So, moving on to a different topic in the NBA. Is the Warriors dynasty over? Over the weekend, they did play Atlanta, and Curry scored 60 points. Other than that, jack shit, honestly. The Warriors haven't played well on the road at all this year, and even last year they weren't really the best on the road either. But you can't rely on Steph Curry to be the savior for your team anymore. I know Draymond Green did his best as far as his triple single, but I mean, it's not looking good for the Warriors. Jonathan Kuminga is the only good thing about the Warriors right now. Unfortunately, nobody shot well, so at least I can give him that excuse. Nobody but Steph Curry shot great. Curry only missed 16 shots, but he was 22 of 38, 60 points. When you got it going, you got it going. Keep feeding him the ball. But Trae Young, 35 and 6 assists. Should have been All-Star still, my opinion. But DeJounte Murray ended up getting 19. And Jalen Johnson, as a rookie, is doing fairly well with the team. He got 21 and 13 and 8, so almost triple-double for him. So, I mean, other than turnovers, I rarely think that Chris Paul, with the turnover ratio for the second unit, is that big of a deal. But, I mean, when you have one guy that scored 60 and no one else score 20, in this league you have to have at least, if one guy scores 30, either one or two has to score 20, or three people have to score 15, which the Warriors did kind of do. But I mean, like, Trae Young, Murray, Johnson all basically had 20, so 20 or more. So it's not, the Warriors dynasty, I feel like, is over. I rarely see them signing anybody because they have Curry, Draymond, and Clay as the three highest paid players on the team. So we'll see what they do at the trade deadline. I don't think they'll break the roster up without Steph Curry saying so. So, yeah, it's not looking good for the Warriors. They're not in the playoff right now. If playoffs ended today, they're not in there. I don't even think they're in the play-in. But yeah, it's not looking great for the Warriors right now, at all. Yeah, it's disappointing. But they did have a good. If it is over, they did have a good run. Me personally, I think it's over for them. But yeah. And the other NBA topic we have today, happened on Friday night. Yeah, last Friday. I want to give a shout out to Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook ended up getting 25,000 points last night. So, added on to his Hall of Fame resume. The only thing he needs now is a ring. So hopefully with the Clippers this year, they end up getting him one. So with him getting 25,000 points, where do I rank him as an all-time point guard in the NBA? And we're going to get into that right now. So, obviously Magic, the best point guard of all time. Best point guard of all time. I mean, these numbers speak for themselves. The only thing about number 5, Chris Paul, is he's third in both assists and steals. And you're like, well, Jason Kidd is second in both, and he has a ring and Chris Paul doesn't. I put CP3 ahead of him because not only is Chris Paul a better offensive player as far as scoring, he's also, I mean, they both won Rookie of the Year, but I just think that between the two, Chris Paul is a better all-around player than Jason Kidd. Even though they're neck and neck in both steals and assist categories. Gary Payton, you could arguably say that he's better than Jason Kidd because he's a two-way player, with Gary Payton getting the Defensive Player of the Year in 95 and 96. But at the end of the day, it's my opinion. I personally think Kyrie Irving is better than Russell Westbrook, not only because he has a ring and Russell doesn't, but just because Kyrie Irving is a wizard with the basketball. He has the best handles of all time. People can say Allen Iverson has some good handles, but you can say, well, he could carry the ball, so you could call carries if you want to. It just depends on the referees that are there and if they want to call it or not. So, but Kyrie Irving is the best finisher around the basket. When I mean finisher is going up against, with him being 6'2", being able to get the English in the right spin, reverse, right hand, left hand, jelly, whatever layup that needs to happen, he can do it. The body control that he has, going through the air, I mean, he is if not the most talented point guard ever, as far as scoring and offensive ability. He can shoot the three, shoot the mid-range, finish, like I just was mentioning earlier. But Russell Westbrook, I think, is ninth, even though he has more points than Kyrie. I also put Kyrie in front of Russ just because of the champion. And Russell Westbrook is 4 years older than Kyrie Irving is. And Kyrie Irving is at 21,000 right now. So he still has a shot to get 25,000 as well. But I just think personally Kyrie Irving is better than Russell Westbrook. But Russell Westbrook, one of my favorite players to watch, just because of the electrifying, of how electrifying he can be, not only with his ferocious dunks, but his tenacity, intensity on the basketball court. He is a natural leader, so he went to Washington and was in his first year able to get them into the playoffs when John Wall was injured, and they shipped in that trade where Westbrook and Wall were traded for one another. But yeah, I think Russell Westbrook is a top 10 point guard of all time. I think Steve Nash is a top 10 too, just because of what he did for Canada, for his country, and back-to-back MVP, fifth in assists. Point guard is really hard to defy, because if you want to do scoring, then Damian Lillard should be put at 10. But I left Damian Lillard out just because of personal preference, but also I just think Kyrie, with his championship ring, and Dame doesn't have an MVP, so that's why I left Damian Lillard out. But out of all of these lists, this list that I constructed here, the only person that is not top 75 on this list is Kyrie Irving. I don't know. I know that he has had some controversy in the league with the media and what he said about the Jewish people and his remarks, but you can't not tell me he's not a top 75 player. He and Dwight Howard both should be on that list. I don't know who made the list. I don't know if there was any grudges against anybody that were there, but there's no you can't tell me a reason why Kyrie Irving and Dwight Howard are not on the list, because they're both going to the Hall of Fame. They're both first ballot Hall of Famers when it's all said and done. So they're going to be making top 100 in the next 25 years when I'm much older than what I am now, but I still think that's crazy to me. But with Russell Westbrook being on the Clippers and the trade deadline coming up soon, the trade deadline and what the Clippers need and what a lot of other teams need, they're going to have to evaluate over the next few days. And so they're like, some teams aren't going to be able to trade because they don't either have the assets nor the draft picks. So what can you do instead of getting ready for the trade deadline. You get ready for the playoffs, because the playoffs are the most important. Because in the second half, what if you get the right guy to help propel you into the playoffs, like LeBron James and the Lakers did last year? They weren't even in the play-in, and then they were able to get some trades done just because they had the assets and players to do so. But if you're a team like Detroit, Spurs, Phoenix, even depending on how much money some teams have, you're going to need to get veteran minimum guys and veteran leadership for the contending teams, or for teams that need veteran leadership and experience to help develop these players. So these are some of the players that I think should have a shot of getting on a team and getting into, and at least should be playing in the league right now. Willie Cauley-Stein, he was a Kentucky guy. Basically, he's just a rim protector, rim runner, 7-footer. So he's going to help out with, if you're LA, you need size. Zubac is 7 foot, 6'10" to 7 foot, but your backup, Daniel Tice, is 6'9". So you're undersized in that front. So if you just need somebody to defend Jokic, for example, that's another guy you can throw at him. Derek Favors, undersized center, but he's a guy that's been in the league for a long time, and has found a way to use his size, his undersize, to an advantage. JaMychal Green, who has been in the league for a few years now. When the Denver Nuggets won it, he wasn't on the team, so that kind of, which is still crazy that he wasn't able to win it last year. But he was not on the team. He was on another team somewhere else. But I mean, this guy should definitely be on a team, because it's a space league now. You need to shoot the three, and he's about 6'9" to 6'10", 38% from three. That's solid. And he's been on postseason contending teams, so he's got experience there. John Wall, can't say it enough. He and Dwight Howard should be in the league. I know Dwight Howard had his offseason stuff, which was fucking bizarre. Good God. I'm still surprised how that affected his career. But at the same time, it's pretty hilarious, to say the least. But John Wall, backup point guard, should be a backup. Could be point guard, a starting point guard for some teams, but he brings experience, and in his prime, he was a top 5 point guard in the league. Dwight Howard, same thing. Top 5 center in his prime. Even though he is 38 years old, he has experience with the Lakers in the postseason and in the finals when he brought his team to Orlando to the Lakers to face them. But he's playing in Taiwan. I don't know if they can get him out of a contract, but Dwight Howard should be in the league, and should be pursued, in my opinion, over next coming days if he can get out of Taiwan. TJ Warren, just a bucket getter. He played a little bit he played last year for I think 2 teams, but he played with Brooklyn, and then he played somewhere else. I can't remember the team at the top of my head, but last year he was on the team with Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant last year, before Kevin Durant and all of that stuff happened, and the breakage and the rebuild of that team. But when he was playing, he averaged 7.5 points a game, 40% from the field. He's just a certified bucket getter. Jeremy Lamb didn't have the best, and just to let everyone know what you're looking at, this is these are the statistics the last time they're in the league. So you can see like, oh, all these guys have terrible statistics. What are you talking about? I'll get that in a second. But Jeremy Lamb, the last time he was in the league, these were his numbers. The year before this year, or the year that he prior played, he shot 40% from three. So he is a streaky shooter, but once he gets it going, he gets it going. Montrezl Harrell is a guy that brings energy. Won Sixth Man of the Year with the Clippers, and then right after went to LA to the Lakers. But he should be in the league just because of his defensive prowess and his heart. He's like Pat Bev, just really, really intense and wants to win. But he should be in the league. Dwayne Dedman is a big man that can shoot the three as well. Stretch 4, stretch 5, wherever you want to put him at. Bismack Biyombo, he did play for the Grizzlies this year, and they let him go. And I guess I don't know what Memphis is doing with their front court depth, but they let him go earlier in the season. And you know, he is also 6'8", undersized center, but he has experience in the playoffs with Phoenix and with Toronto the year before they won the championship. When I think it was the last year LeBron was in Cleveland. He was in that Cleveland Toronto series where he just blew up. Austin Rivers he's just a good veteran presence. Good. He's been in the league for 10 years. I know he's with ESPN doing some analyst work over there and being on TV, but 35% from three, backup point guard. Everyone needs a good backup nowadays. Kendrick Nunn. Last year, he had a rough time staying healthy, so he was coming off an injury last year. He ended up playing with LA and Washington. Washington, he started getting a lot more playing time, so he ended up getting better numbers toward the end to the later half of the year. But he's a scorer, lefty that is in his physical prime still. You need a bench guy that can just get you buckets, and that's him here. Frank Kaminsky, like I said earlier, with size, he's 7 foot. The last time he was in the league, he shot 39% from three as a big man. For a guy that went to Wisconsin that nobody knew, taking down Kentucky, which I think had Willie Cauley-Stein and Devin Booker and Karl-Anthony Towns and the Harrison twins, which are very underrated, or were underrated at that time. Wisconsin took him down, and then he's just been just a low, under-the-radar guy. Justice Winslow, he's 6.8 points, 5 rebounds, and a steal. He's just a guy that can D up somebody, perimeter defender. Offensive game isn't really there. He's ever since he's been in the league, he's trying to develop a little bit better offensive game. Can make free throws, but he's not a type of guy that's going to give you 20 a night or anything like that, or 15 even. He's just a guy that's going to get some transition points and just another guy to throw at someone for a different defensive look. And y'all are probably wondering why some of these people are in yellow. I wanted to put these people in yellow because all these names, the last time they were in the NBA or in the league played less than 40 games. Excuse me, less than 40 games. That's less than half the season. And I know that the Clippers got Russell Westbrook, and I understand that they didn't know how to how to. But I don't know. I can't remember if John Wall was on the team with Russell Westbrook or not. But that being said, John Wall, I think, played 33 or 34 games. 34 games. Sorry, I have the stat on paper here. Played 34 games. And they did end up going to postseason last year, but Kawhi ended up getting a knee injury, and they ended up losing to Phoenix. But I mean, all these guys, at least in yellow, should at least get another shot. And speaking of just getting opportunity to play, Kenny Chandler and Mac McClung, especially Mac McClung. Mac McClung has been in the G League for the most of his NBA career. He ended up going to the dunk contest last year, winning it, and a lot of people don't even really know who he is. That is because he's just famous for his high school dunk mixtapes for the most part. He did play well in college, but he's undersized. I think he's about 6'6'1". His offensive bag is getting better, but it's just who is going to give him the opportunity to play. And I feel like he deserves a shot. If Scottie Pippen Jr. is getting a shot with Memphis, Scottie Pippen Jr. is 6'3", and I live in Tennessee, but out of all the guys that should get a shot, Mac McClung should definitely get a shot in the NBA, at least for a trial run. Because if John Wall is only playing 30 games, have Mac McClung just play 30 games, or at least half of that, to see what he can do. And then another name that I mentioned earlier, Kenny Chandler. Personal bias, I played basketball with him in middle school, and grew up a little bit around him. He got drafted by Memphis, his hometown team, and he didn't play very many minutes in his rookie year, which was last year. Didn't play very minutes, didn't play very many games. He was with the Hustle for his two-way deal that he was going through last year. But in the games that he did play, in the minutes that he played, one of the reasons why they waived him this offseason was that his offensive game didn't translate and his three-point shooting wasn't the greatest. I agree with that in a sense because, yes, his three-point percentage wasn't great. His free throw percentage in college was atrocious for a point guard, and I played basketball with him, and he was making free throws. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was a shooting thing in Tennessee. I have no idea what happened. But typically when they tell you to shoot free throws, you get a balanced base, bend your knees, go up. All he did in college was basically just a little gather just for a second, and then it seemed like when he rose up, it was all arm. But, what can I say? I'm not an NBA player. I didn't get drafted. I'm not a millionaire, whatever. But he should at least get a shot because with the amount of Memphis backcourt injuries that they had, I feel like they now wish they would have kept him a little bit. But that's just my opinion. But I feel like he should get a chance just because he was one of the first few picks in the second round. So I feel like he should at least get a shot, even though he is undersized as well. He's about 5'11", 6 foot, maybe generously giving him 6'1", but defensively he's there. When he was in college in Tennessee, he was top 5 in SEC in steals. So, but he's a playmaker, great playmaker, and I feel like those two guys should get a shot sometime. One of the things that I'm going to introduce are, like in episode 1, I did special segments. today there's gonna be two. One I thought of when I saw a play over the weekend. It was Gonzaga and St. Mary's, and this segment is called "What the Hell Happened." Um, this game was going down to the wire, and there was a loose ball. St. Mary's got it, and then they were able to hit a clutch three to bring the lead to 6 points. Um, the call was terrible. I will say that flat out. I think the ref was potentially blind in that particular moment because you definitely see the ball, the guy trying to save the ball step out of bounds. And when I tell you that he was looking right at the guy, like he was right in front of him, foot was out of bounds. I don't know what he was looking at. I know I'm not an official, so I know the game is going rapid speed. Everything's going really fast. I understand that, but that call was bad, and they went to review, but not to review that. They reviewed to see if he shot, if the shooter that shot the three was behind the 3-point line. Not, and the reason is because the time accrued. There was so much more time that accrued in the play that they couldn't go back. Unfortunately, so. You'll see it in the clip as going on while I'm talking about it. But yeah, that is called "What the Hell Happened" there. And Gonzaga ended up losing this game to St. Mary's in the final seconds of the game. But another segment that I will try to do more on Mondays, especially, is Movie Mondays. Movie Mondays are going to be where I talk about a movie and talk about a movie that I just saw, talk about it. Unfortunately, and I wasn't able to watch a movie this weekend to talk about it because something else happened in the entertainment industry that I wanted to address today. Last week, Carl Weathers, an actor, former football player, director, passed away. He is most famous for his roles in Happy Gilmore as Chubbs Peterson. He is also well-renowned in the Predator series. And he is also known for the Mandalorian series as well. He also was in The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. That just happened. That just started coming out in 2020, and he was in the first 3 seasons of that. He ended up dying of 76, but his most popular role is Apollo Creed from the Rocky movies. It sucks to see somebody like him gone. I've watched him ever since I was a kid in Little Nicky, which was a crazy movie. That I might talk about that movie in one of these episodes on Monday, but that movie is bonkers, freaking bonkers. Was it funny? Yeah, but it was lots of stupidity that was going on in that movie. But Carl Weathers, we will miss him. He was also in Toy Story, believe it or not. He was in Toy Story 4. He was one of the bears. I'm trying to remember his name. Can't remember his name, but I'm trying to find it here. But he was in one of the bears in either a Toy Story special or Toy Story 4. But yeah, it's shocking to see someone like this guy gone. I mean, professional, well-renowned in the acting world, and condolences go out to his family, his friends. Sylvester Stallone and him were very close. But yeah, the entertainment industry lost somebody that was well renowned in the field. So Carl Weathers died February 1st at age 76. And on that note, everybody stay safe, cherish the ones you have, because you never know when your time is up.